A lot of people have asked me why we started the Mayor Fred Hunter radio show, and one of the reasons is Anaheim is such a large and diverse city. As you can see from this program this evening with Keith Olesen from the Central Cities and Pat Pepper from the Hills area, there are different and divergent problems facing the people in the city of Anaheim, and it's just another way to disseminate information. Not only that, one of the interesting things about the radio show is that it is sponsored by corporate sponsors through Ed Garter Productions, and therefore it gives me a lot of leeway as to who I can have on as a guest, because this is being paid for by the private sector and not by the public in one way, shape, form, or any manner. And therefore, the topics that we can discuss on this radio show are real diverse, and some of the shows we've had over the last 16 or 17 weeks involve crime, involve the homeless, but not only that, as you can see from this evening's shows, talking about those people who I call the politics of inclusion and not exclusion. And that's one of the real big reasons why we started the radio show. It's just another evening out for the mayor. You know, Tuesday night's council, Monday night is just normal. We're out here on the radio show. But I get to meet a lot of people, too, a lot of interesting people in this city. And so that's one of the reasons why we've done it. It's a lot of fun for me, but it's an opportunity for me, like we had the paramedics on the other week, to glean information from people in this city. And it gives me an opportunity to become very knowledgeable about what's going on in this city, fighters, the cops, and those citizens in our city who are concerned about those things that are happening in their city and in their neighborhood. So it's just another way to get information out to the whole community. And it's a talk radio show, so people can call in and talk to us also.
Stand by. You're listening to An Evening with the Mayor, the Fred Hunter Show, and we'd like you to know the telephone number in case you'd like to talk with the mayor guests. It's 1-800-222-1190. Once again, 1-800-222-1190. And now, here's the Mayor, Fred Hunter.
Thanks, Ed. We have as our guest this evening, folks, Keith Olesen, who's chairman of the Central Cities Neighborhood Council, and we've been discussing that council, community development block grant funds, and how the folks get together and kind of decide where the federal monies ought to be spent, and talking about a group down to the Anaheim Neighborhood Association, downzoning, and some of the great projects hopefully that are going to happen in downtown Anaheim. What are some of the things that you would like to see if you had a wish list, other than, we got the coal project off the ground and Lincoln Properties, but throw out a little wish list.
Well, I guess more of the same, a little, maybe a little more speed in some of the projects. Obviously, everybody's interested in that. From the residents' end, even more participation. What we've accomplished more than anything else, and I'd say getting people involved, whether we all agree or disagree. Sometimes, even some of the residents agree and disagree on what's a good idea, what's a bad idea, but at least they're participating. I'd like to see that continue and increase. Projects like Lincoln and Cole developing are phenomenal. I'd like to see a few more of the historic properties designated, and protected a little more stringently than Anaheim. We do have some resources left, residential historic properties that should be protected and that should be, viewed as an asset to the city.
We need some restaurants downtown, too.
Well, that's all what I consider part of the Cole project.
I know that.
Restaurants, movie theaters, a place to hang out.
You bet. Get some activity happening again in downtown Anaheim, and I'm sure those things are going to happen. I know you've been involved in talking a little bit about perhaps a community center downtown, and more of a multi-purpose type community center that provides a lot of things for the people downtown Anaheim.
Right. There's a citizens advisory committee that has been formed to try and come up with a workable idea, kind of a general floor plan or guideline for one centralized community center that would take the load from the Senior Citizen Center, George Washington Community Center, Brooker Center, and really centralize it into one magnificent, big, modern facility that to be located downtown by City Hall somewhere, hopefully.
I think what's going to happen down there, at least you can see it, especially on the east side of the City Hall, is more of a civic center plaza idea that's going to happen there. Perhaps the library might be moved over there. I've been hearing some things. And this community center down there by Philadelphia Street and Old Lincoln, they call it.
Oh, exactly, yeah, some of the diehards.
Old Lincoln and Philadelphia Street. Yeah, we still call it Old Lincoln.
You know, a lot of what that's going to accomplish, which is something we'd like to see too, is more of a pedestrian friendliness in downtown. You know, walkways and an esplanade that's being considered for the redevelopment project to go all the way through to allow people a large walking area.
Actually go all the way to East Street.
Right.
And
to enjoy the whole area, to enjoy what's going to be there.
Yeah, I think there will be projects. There's talk about Amtrak having a major train stop right there by the old Agrigold place that's there right now. I think that's an excellent idea with light rail, because I think that's going to become more and more popular. Yeah,
transportation obviously being a big concern for everybody, it's a natural to put it right there in the middle of the downtown.
Sure, and already, you know, I was at the Hillman building the other day, the one down by Anaheim Stadium, and people living, you know, way in South County are getting off at the Amtrak Stadium, and going across the street to those office towers, and going back and never getting in their cars.
That's it.
And with the coal building and those things happening downtown, I think that's going to be a real asset to the community. And the more type things that are like this, and I think one of the things that people don't realize with the Lincoln properties is that if you can prove that you work in the Project Alpha area, that you have first priority to either buy or rent or lease some of those units that are going to be built downtown.
Yeah, there'll be a priority given to consideration. It's a great deal. I mean, you have to start somewhere to help relieve some of the congestion, some of the traffic.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
And that way, those people, that they could be a PAC Bell, Civic Bell employee, or a city employee, or there's so many other businesses downtown, all the services, you could actually live and work downtown, walk to work.
Right, just like the old days.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And one of the parcels people don't realize, I think it's, man, I get to where these things are in my brain, is parcel 4D.
Right.
And that's the one that's going to be a mixed use. You might tell the people a little bit about that.
That's a parcel located right by the Anaheim Memorial Manor. It's a mixed-use parcel that will be, I think, approximately 3 to 4 stories tall. The bottom floor will be retail with sidewalk access, street parking access, and then residential built above it. So it's kind of a new return to the past.
Exactly what it is. A lot of people that have grown up back east, you know, say, well, that was just a way of life.
Well, a lot of what was downtown Anaheim originally was built that way.
Absolutely.
And it's a great idea. Yeah. It's a great use of space. It's a good way to combine the uses. It's a convenience for the people that live and work there.
Yeah.
And it will give more of a neighborhood community feel to even the professional and the office sites will be more like part of your neighborhood.
Yeah, I just see great things for downtown folks, and you know, talking and exciting, but there's a lot of doubting Thomases, believe me.
Always will be.
Well, because they keep saying, well, Fred, I don't see anything yet. Yeah. You know, I want those sticks going up. That's the coal project and the Lincoln Properties project, and I think the doubting Thomases will go away.
If we can accomplish anything else, maybe from tonight we can get people to look into what is happening downtown, to go to Central City meetings, fourth Thursday of every month, 7 o'clock at George Washington. Call City Hall, call the Planning Department, call the Public Information Office. Find out exactly in store for the area you live in, because there are plans, there are things being done, but people have
that are going to affect them.
Right.
Very much so.
And they're all very positive things for the most part that people can find out and get excited about if they take the time to do it.
Complacency. There's just an article in the paper the other day as to how, you know, voting and everybody just relies on TV commercials instead of getting down to the grassroots. We're going to be back in a minute, but I want to thank Keith Olesen for being on the show, both shows.
Thanks, Fred.
We'll be back with another guest.
Okay, Pet.
Yeah. Once again, here's the mayor, Fred Hunter.
Thanks, and we have another guest on this evening, and that is Pat Pepper, who is chairman of the Anaheim Hills Citizens Coalition. Pat, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Fred.
And I'm going to start real quick with a real tough question. Why are you doing this? Why are you chairman of the Anaheim Hills Citizens Coalition?
Why am I chairman of the Anaheim Hills Citizens Coalition? Well, Fred, I've always been interested in the community. I have a master's degree in public administration and an undergraduate in geography, urban geography, and environmental studies. But something called Proposition 13 came through back in 1978 and reduced the number of jobs out there. So I wound up going into aerospace.
Okay.
When the Anaheim Hills Citizens Coalition came about, my wife actually got involved first. And then I got involved, and next thing I know,
You're the president.
I became chairman, yes.
There you go, the chairman of it. How long has the Anaheim Hills Citizens Coalition been in existence?
The coalition was formed back in July 1987 from a group of concerned homeowners who felt that the communication between the community and the city was lacking. There were some land use issues at the time, and they felt that, or didn't understand the processes through the city. They were surprised to find that the city council could overrule the planning example.
Mm-hmm.
And
just real simple things that a lot of
simple
people
things
take for granted, but
just a general lack of understanding of the process, the local governmental process, and how developments are approved now. So from that, they decided to form a permanent group, which became the coalition, to, one, learn about the processes through city government, and to keep the rest of the hills informed. By keeping informed ourselves, we keep the other residents informed about developments in the community.
Keith Olesen was on earlier. Do you guys kind of exchange notes?
Well, once in a while we talk. For example, the Community Center Advisory Committee. We've been lobbying for a community center out in the Hills area for many years now, and from our efforts, the Parks and Rec formed the advisory committee out in the Hills. At the same time, they formed the advisory committee in central Anaheim, because as you're aware, there is a need for community centers throughout all of Anaheim.
It's an amazing city. It's about 26 miles long, and through LAFCO, if we annex the Gypsum Cove Canyon area and build homes instead of a jail, and then we're going to talk about that in a minute, Proposition A, we want all the folks to get out and vote for on the June ballot, is that because it is such a diverse and long city that it is difficult to centralize services. And that's why we need community centers, not only in the West End, but central and out on the East End and maybe down south.
Yes.
What are some of the current concerns that are going on in the Hills? And we're going to get back to the answer to that question in just a minute.
We're going to take a break for the news, and then we'll be back with more of the Fred Hunter Show. An evening with the mayor, the Fred Hunter Show, Suburb Anaheim now continues with his guests, and of course yours truly, Edgardo. Once again, Fred and his guests, call them toll-free at 1-800-222-1190. That's 1-800-222-1190. Once again, here's Fred Hunter.
And live in the studio is Pat Pepper, who was chairman of the Anaheim Hills Citizens Coalition. And we left off talking about some of the current concerns that the coalition has with the folks out there in Anaheim Hills.
The concerns we've been involved with most recently is a proposed development of 152 condominiums along the 91 freeway and Riverdale Avenue. We've had meetings with the developer and with the community. Most recently, Saturday, we had a community meeting of about 60 residents to review the latest plans. The developer had proposed originally to put in 168 condominiums at a planning commission meeting about a month ago. They came back with 152, and that'll be in commission 2 weeks from now.
So what the Anaheim Hills Citizens Coalition does is basically what, Pat? Meet with the people, listen to their concerns, and talk about whether this is going to cause more traffic and what that's going to do to the environment, what that's going to do to the area, ingress, egress, things of that nature?
Yes. Well, we're incorporated to uphold the area per the Canyon Area General Plan. This particular development, the area is in the general plan designated for single residence. It's zoned for 63 homes, and the developer's asking for a general plan amendment.
He wants to do a reclass.
Reclass. Instead of downzoning that Keith used to, this is upzoning, if you will. Mm-hmm. Asking for 152 units.
So you're out there concerned and saying basically to maintain neighborhood integrity and go ahead and build single-family homes and not
yes,
a high density of condos.
The way we usually, by us keeping them, as I've said, we pay attention to the public notices in the newspaper. We also have a very good rapport we've built with the city staff, with the planning department, the city engineering office. So when a hearing's going to be held, whether it be a city engineer's hearing on a grading plan, or a zoning administrator's hearing, or a planning commission hearing, notices, as you know, only go out 300 to residents affected 300 feet away. Oftentimes we supplement that. We put up a neighbor and we send it around to much greater distance, much larger sphere.
Sure, that's a good idea. Then there's been some talk about expanding that, but it's just the cost of, notifying all those people. I think by law the minimum is 300 feet, and that's what most government entities use. So what you do is many times expand things of that nature. Let's talk about some positive things. Anaheim Festival, what's that? What's going to happen out there?
Well, the Anaheim Festival Center is a Trammell Crow development. It's a large shopping. There's going to be a Target store, go in there, a Vaughn's Pavilion,
TJ Maxx, Marshalls.
Things like that, stores, restaurants, to supply the East Hills community with much-needed retail and
places to eat too. Just like downtown, I complain, because I go down there and work. There's no place to eat. I live out in the hills, and I got to get in my car and drive some god-awful distance to go buy to eat. And there's good restaurants out there, and I'm not knocking those people that are already there, but we need more.
Well, Trammell Crow's been working with, last they told us, with the White House restaurant in Anaheim and Mr. Stocks about putting a second restaurant out in their center.
Well, they got my vote. I like both of those places. But we need more things like that out there. It's just growing so fast. And let's talk real quick, because people are going to watch this show and listening to it now, they're going to watch this on television, about Proposition A that's going to be on the ballot and how that concerns all of Anaheim, but especially those people living in the hills. What's that all about?
Well, Proposition A is the, better known as the jail initiative. It is the proposition for putting the jail or into Santa Ana, maintaining it at the county seat. The county had proposed putting the jail in Gypsum Canyon, which under the Anaheim sphere and general plan is designated for residential development.
Well, let's hope that the folks get out and vote. That's the Taxpayers for a Centralized Jail. That's Proposition A. You want to vote yes on that. That says any new jail. I noticed they got a little kicker in there, though, because I read it in my ballot the other day. It says we're either going to, Taxpayers for a Centralized Jail basically says let's put the jail where the county seat is, which is Santa Ana, but it also talks about the alternatives about a tri-county jail in the desert. That says, too, I read that
yes.
in there.
The opponents of the Proposition A have stated that this limits that the remote jail site in the Riverside County could not take place.
And we're saying baloney to that.
Yes, we don't feel that that doesn't limit that possibility.
Right, and I read it over and I absolutely agree with that. I think that's a smokescreen by the opponents. And we all know about the transportation costs, and we all know about the 91 freeway, how overcrowded that is already, and God forbid we put a $6,000 hotel at Gypsum Cove Canyon, folks. It's just not going to work. 4th of July Parade, another big thing coming up. Is the second annual. I think that's a nice community event out in the hills. What's happening there?
Well, another one of the groups in the hills area, the Canyon Hills Coordinating Council, is responsible for putting on the 4th of July Parade. This will be the second annual parade. We look for even a larger event this year. I know they had a lot of fun with it last year, and you'll be in it again.
The fireworks they had at Peralta Park, it was a hot day the first year, folks. It was over 100 degrees. But as it cooled down that evening and everybody came out to the park, and they had the fireworks display right there, and they had food booths and all kind of things going on, and I think it's going to be twice as big this year, and
yes.
Let's pray that the weather will be someplace around 85 degrees where something normal. Another thing I have down, muscle parks. I'm getting a lot of people calling me up saying, Fred, we don't have enough room for our kids to play soccer and Little League and Bobby Sox, and what are we doing about that?
Well, a group got together of the various soccer leagues, Little League and Pop Warner, and over a concern that lack of field space. and they've been meeting on a regular basis the last couple months. One of the things they're looking for is they like additional field space, but also by getting together have realized that they can, by better scheduling, utilize the field space that there is
already
better.
there.
Yes.
And perhaps getting the cooperation of some adjacent neighbors, like at Crescent School, to light that park and to light Eucalyptus Park, and you know, make sure the lights are off at say 9:30, and make sure those are for children only and not, you know, adult softball. And that'll give us much more field space. So I know those meetings are going on as we talk.
Yes.
Probably.
Parks and Rec Department is trying to work with them.
Those things out.
And I know you've been invited to one of their meetings.
Yeah, I'm coming up right after a radio show next week. In fact, I'm going to head on over there and as usual have people say, "What's going on, Fred?" I want to thank Pat Pepper for being on the show. Last few words talking about the Hills. What's going on out there? Can you tell the folks? A lot of people I know in the Hills watch this program.
Well, like you mentioned, the center is one of the things that we're very concerned in getting one out there so we can enjoy the fine programs that Park and Rec puts on in West Anaheim at the Brookhurst Community Center. Right now, I have met with the Irvine Company regarding Gypsum Canyon. They want to put in, for example, proposed 8,000 homes out there.
We got to whittle that down some.
And we got to whittle that down. Yes, I met with them, and because the general plan calls for only 3,600, and of course the concern there is with the traffic. And the Eastern Transportation Corridor is to go through right by there, and that's a key to, I think, further large developments out in the Gypsum and Cold Canyon area.
Good. Pat, sounds like you're really up to speed on everything going in the Hills, doing a fine work, you and Keith Olesen, and we're going to be back in just a minute.
We'll be back in 30 seconds, and when we return, Once again, here's the Mayor of Anaheim, Fred Hunter, with his guests for this evening.
And we have Dr. Donald Fleur, wife Lois Fleur, on the line of the Olive Crest Treatment Center. Lois, let me ask you this question. I know that many Olive Crest Treatment Centers encompass many homes for abused and abandoned children. But I understand you also have a large foster family agency. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, when we discovered that foster families were needed for children and teenagers, we decided to become licensed for that. And the emphasis is on respite care, and the social workers go out to see the foster children once a week and their families. And we have approximately 75 children in foster care right now, and we are desperate for foster families. Even single parents can be a foster parent, and it's so rewarding.
Is there a phone number if somebody's listening or watching this TV show?
Call 777-4999.
That's area code 714.
714-777-4999. Desperate need for foster parents. Is that correct?
Right, especially with Mother's Day and Father's Day coming up. It really would be wonderful for many, many children to have a mom or a pop.
You bet. Mother's Day is coming up this Sunday.
Right.
And a lot of children out not with their mother. Is that correct?
Right.
You know, all the years I was a cop, most of the time I was out working narcotics, and a lot of sad things, but folks, today one of the saddest things out there is children that are born addicted to cocaine, crack cocaine, heroin. We used to call it smack in the old days. What about care for babies that are born addicted? Are you folks involved in that?
We're getting ready to get involved with it. As you may know, Mayor is reporting approximately 36 babies born addicted every month. Orangewood simply cannot hold them, and the hospitals cannot always keep them for long periods of time. So Olive Crest, with the community of Orange and private enterprise, has already raised some funds and hoping to open up a small family home for crack infant. We have a group of builders that will build us a house free and clear. If you or anybody else knows where some land is, this would be a big help for the crack baby program. And we hope to open this up approximately within the next 6 months. It's a great tragedy in Orange County and our nation, as you've stated.
36 children a month right now, folks, in Orange County are born addicted to crack cocaine. And that number's going up, isn't it, Doctor?
Yeah, and there may be, others that are not reported. That's just the reported amount.
We already are serving toddlers. These homes that we plan to open would be for drug babies, and the toddler homes have some drug toddlers in it also.
How do you folks keep time to get all these numerous activities? And I know it has to be a continuing process of fundraising to generate funds from the private sector. Like you were saying, you got some builders that want to build a crack baby house. Isn't that terrible to even say words like that? Tell me about that.
The Fund Development Department.
Well, we try to keep the name of Olive Crest out in the community and give back to the community too, and by having some workshops, and that way people get to know about us and they receive help also. So as we grow and people learn that actually Olive Crest, 90% of the children come from Orangewood, and Orangewood is a county facility, and we're private, and we keep the children long term. We work on our fundraising goals. This year we have $1.2 million fundraising, and over and above that, we are trying to open the homes for the drug babies.
Yeah. You know, the Orangewood home, I used to work with a cop named, I got to get this out, DB, Dave Brown, we used to call him. And he got into the juvenile bureau, and then about 6 months later when he left, he had adopted 4 children. He had to get out of that bureau. That's a true story. And he moved and went up to Oregon, and he's some sheriff up there, and he took all the kids with him. Isn't that a great story? That's a true story. Those are, when you work that juvenile bureau, boy, your heart just breaks almost every night.
Yeah, you're right out there on the firing line, aren't you?
Yeah, and you see some real sad stories. And he ended up with 4 kids in about 6 months and said, "Get me out of here. I can't take this." But that shows what a heart he had. You know, for the people listening to the program that would like to help Olive Crest, what kind of things can they do, Doctor or Lois?
We have a special friend program, which is like a Big Brother program. We have a lot of volunteerism for painters or people who like to do gardening. We have a lot of events going on. We just had the 9/11 Bowl.
I just wrote that down, the 9/11 Bowl, between the sheriffs and the firefighters, and doggone it, my good firefighters lost 10 head.
It's a close one. And golf tournaments, black and white ball, just a number of fundraisers to help the kids.
Give out that phone number once again, Dr. Valor and Lois. Nice to be on the show. Give out that phone number one more time.
Go ahead, Lois.
777-4999. And also, we have a program where we can help parents with troubled teenagers. So if anyone would like to call in and find out help, we can help them in that area.
Same number. Thank you, folks, for being on the show. Dr. Donald Valor and his wife, Lois, Olive Crest Treatment Centers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
This portion of the program has been made possible by Caliber Motors, your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer in Anaheim Hills. Now you can have the car of your dreams at a dream payment.
Once again, thank you for joining the Mayor Fred Hunter Show. I hope you've had fun watching this show, which of course was the radio show that's on Monday evening, and hope to see you again. Thank you very much for watching.
Chester takes a show.